Hello, everyone. We're live. We had some technical difficulties, but we're live. uh, Welcome to the first ever Twitter live session that I'm doing, and I'm joined here with Amir Sabirovic today, and we're going to talk all about achieving your true potential. So, Amir, maybe you can give the people a little bit of a backstory on what you do and what your kind of background is.
I'm a professional jester. No, I'm just kidding. I have an expertise in software engineering and development. I've had my own company for a number of years. Then I joined a big business consultancy, the oldest business consultancy in the Netherlands. Did a lot of projects in Internet of Things, big data, 3D printing. Actually, everything that was relying on software went through my hands. And during that period, actually, I got the chance to establish the new trending management consultancy, which was actually from business consultancy, management consultancy, looking at the business challenges and translating them into possible solutions based on data analytics and artificial intelligence. I did it for a couple of years. Then I moved to the qualitative side of natural language processing because this was more on quantitative side. Did it for a couple of years. Then I entered the software development realm, which was not really my thing because I was just delivering digital factory workers, and I don't like that. And recently, like 7 months ago, I joined Interworks. Interworks is a solution provider based in Macedonia. From 11 practices and 16 years of experience, we are actually providing solutions throughout the whole supply chain of telecommunication providers, manufacturing providers, retail, you name it, energy, all different market segments. Next to that, I have my own podcast, Digital Savages, with a podcast challenging the status quo, and I'm a mentor at Bosnia and Herzegovina Future Foundation. And I juggle around with things. I write quotes, I write articles, kind of having fun in life.
Yeah, very cool. I do a lot of those same things. I mean, the podcast and being a mentor as well. But
No.
yeah. I do. So what we're going to talk about today, of course, is your achieving your true potential. But when we say that, could you give a little bit of a backstory to what that means to you? So what does that mean to you, achieving your true potential?
Well, I think that when you look at regular organizations, right? I don't know if you have been in regular big companies and
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
been there. Yeah. So when you enter a company, you get selected on your profile or background, depending either you're already a foreign professional or young professional. But in a case of young professional, you come in and there are only few streams that you can follow, right? So it's not really your choice of doing things the way you would like to do them. So not testing your abilities, but it's kind of one size fits all. So you have your trajectory. You have in the first year, you do this courses, the second year this, and you have your junior, mid-year, senior, extra,
Principal,
and maybe
yeah, like that.
principal, exactly. So I already lost the chase of titles. But I'm really curious about how organizations actually judge this, because I think that each and every one of us is unique in their abilities and the way they do things. And I think it's very important to see what personal growth can bring to a company with value, not only from the, I would say, from the career perspective, or not only from the knowledge perspective, but see these core values that the person has in them, and see this core potential, and actually motivating the employee at that point to grow in those. And that would mean that you would have one-on-one trajectories for each and every. And I can imagine that is quite a lot. If you have a company of 100,000 employees, or 1,000 for that matter, it's quite challenging to individually guide everyone. But I think that's necessary. I think then you will have companies that value their employees like from the ground up in their core values, and stimulates them to grow in the things they are very passionate about and they love doing.
Yeah, yeah. I think that when people saying achieving your true potential, from my perspective as well, you don't just do that on a professional level, of course, because you have your job which you get good at, or you get a promotion, or you start doing something for yourself or whatever. But there is also the kind of personal growth, as you mentioned, which a lot of people are forgetting about, right? Where they're like, you're not just the person at your job and then going home and then you're a totally different person. You're still a kind of the same person in that respect, right?
No, no, no. And this is like the societal pressure, right? You
Yeah,
have this kind of rigid approach where the education is teaching the children that they should abide to the teacher. Is the same thing as you sitting in a cubicle abiding to the director, not having the same level of conversation. And then actually moving from there, it's Monday to Friday, right, 9 to 5, to actually fulfill these external factors that are meaningless for your life, for your happiness, as I would say. And then you celebrate weekends and count your days down up to your next holiday, whether it's a snowboard vacation or a summer vacation. And I
yeah,
think that if you really are at a good place where you're valued for your true potential and what you bring along as a professional, um, I think then you don't need weekends. And on top of that, we're kind of spastically trying to cut these things. Yeah, I have my personal life and I have my business life, and these two don't intervene. I mean, that's like schizophrenic, right? Having
yeah,
phases. Like I put my work mask on, and no, I have my consistency. I'm always the same. Whether you meet me in a bar or on a beach or within an office, I will behave the same.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. So when you look at that, when you look at achieving that what you want to do, or achieving the potential you want to get, I think one of the first subjects we should talk about actually is what is kind of what is defining of that, right? So what is your definition of success in that case? What do you think about it? Do you think that's a good first step to look at?
I think it is. It's actually looking to what satisfies you as a person, and not you satisfying the world, but you have to love yourself and actually be able to look in a mirror and say, hey, that guy or girl looking at me is actually quite satisfied and, smiling at me and giving me winks. Or that guy or girl in the mirror is quite angry at me because actually I've let all my principles go that I hold valuable for my life. I think that the definition for success is for each and every one's very personal, but you have to figure that out for yourself. When are you successful? What does that mean to you as a person? For me, the freedom is one of the biggest success factors. So I want to be able to do things my way and to do the things that I like to do in the passionate relationship where empathy is actually the core of everything I do. I love people and I love being around with people. I love helping people. And actually, you should find out which core values you possess and build your success story around it. This explains why I love to be on stage. This explains why I love to mentor, to see other people grow. That is like and achieving great things. That is for me the biggest success factor in life.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of things a lot of things that I see on the floor is, and I'm talking just about normal office jobs. A lot of people are like, okay, they're going to take for example, a pay raise over, for example, doing a course or getting better at something, right? You see that a lot, where people like say, oh yeah, that course, I don't know if that's going to help me maybe get further or whatever, so I'm just going to take the pay raise. It's all kind of short term, right? It's all kind of based around, okay, I just want to get the pay raise so I can buy more groceries, which you don't even, in most cases, you don't even need that pay raise, right? So that's something that I've noticed, is that a lot of people tie success to money, and instead of looking at, okay, what is going to make me happy, right? What is going to make me fulfilled?
Yeah, and I think that you're totally right because at the end you will never have enough money to fulfill the empty hole of your soul. So I think that finding out, getting your heart, your mind, and your action aligned with what you really are and how you truly feel, and that may be it may be something as a result that you would like to have a 9 to 5 job. It's okay. It's nothing. It can be that you only see money as a goal. That can be your division. It's very individual and very personal. But I think the ultimate satisfaction does not come from any kind of materialistic things. It's very easy that you're able to buy your grocery, to pay your rent, or pay your mortgage, have a car, and all these things. But these things are more given to us by the society. I mean, the ancient people did not have something like this. I mean, the Epictetus, the biggest Stoic of all time, he lived in a watery shed, right? He didn't need nothing. And all these external influences define how success looks like to us. So we're doing it for somebody else instead of doing it for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's the greatest kind of difference between before and now, where of course all these kind of social media platforms and stuff like that, they kind of enhance this idea of these people that are largely like successful people, and then when you peel back the layers, you see like they're pretty unhappy, right? They're pretty unhappy with where they are and stuff like that. If you talk about like success, do you feel like you're at that point already where you're like, okay, I've already kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve, or do you still feel that hunger to do more?
I always feel the hunger. So I'm not in love with the end goal. I'm in love with the process. So for me, challenge is one of the main aspects. So I always try to push myself more, learn more new things, connect the dots, actually push myself out of the comfort zone. So I'm kind of restless. So I haven't achieved it. I did achieve one of the most important things, and this is the awakening process for me. Actually, that I used to think that the definition of success is what the world tells me to be, and that I have to fit this picture. But actually, we're all unique individuals, and it took me time to get to this. So this enlightenment phase, and it can sound very philosophical to a lot of people, but I just don't care. So I've excluded all these external information sources, all kind of negativity, all kind of stress, and I'm looking inwards and trying to do things that I find are of added value for me, and by doing that, I'm able to add value for other people. And I never want to stop, because for me the greatest value is maybe some kind of altruistic way of looking at the world. But the greatest value, if you can achieve helping somebody to climb the mountain, right? Where they see all kinds of obstacles, but you take them by the hand and say, don't worry, I'm here with you the full way. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be really painful. It's going to be worse than painful. But nevertheless, we will get there where you want to be. And I think that is the biggest value that you can receive in life.
Yeah, so how do you, because that's something that's for a lot of people pretty hard to do, to kind of shut yourself off for the kind of negativity and the people that can say like you can't do it, or because I've had that and you've had that before. I can imagine that you had that before, where people are like, oh, you say something, you want to achieve something, you say I want to do this and this, and then people are like, yeah, you're crazy, you're not going to get there, and stuff like. How do you kind of, what are some of the things that you do to kind of shut yourself off for that?
So the biggest thing here is that people are not reflecting you. So if somebody, I mean, I teach my son this. If somebody says to him that something is impossible, it's impossible for them, and they are right. So both people that say something is possible or impossible are right, because they're looking at from their perspective. So if somebody says something is not impossible, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, your brother-in-law, your mother, whatever, you have to understand that these people are also conditioned by their environment. So at a certain point, if you want to elevate, people will not understand you. You'll be like from Mars, like, do I need an enigma to translate what you're trying to say? What are you talking about? Because let's be frank, most people, like the masses, rather watch series of Afterlife than read an decade of books.
Yeah, that's the thing. The thing is mostly that what you see is that people have an opinion on something that someone is going to do where they don't have the experience of doing that, right? Say, for instance, you want to be a self-made entrepreneur or something like that. The people that will give you advice mainly, and in most cases, are people that didn't do that before, right? That are maybe
Yeah,
working
of
a day
course.
job or whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, so you have to check your references, right? And
Yeah.
surround you
Yeah.
with people that can actually help you. And there is no book on entrepreneurship. There is no book
Yeah.
on whatever your definition of success is. You can
Yeah.
only read stories and derive the value for yourself, because you would buy a book, How to Become a Millionaire, and everybody would become a millionaire. You will buy
Yeah.
you will buy Crushing It from Gary Vee, and everybody would become a Gary Vee. And that's just not true, right? How do you become a millionaire? You write a book. So there is a saying, if you do not know anything about the subject, write a book, because you have to do some research to get to know the subject.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't think we're conditioned. We're conditioned
Mm.
our whole life, and taking somebody. I think you can have somebody else's perception. You can, but try to understand them. Why are they saying this? Is it because of the fear? Is it because of uncertainty or doubt or fear of failure? It all comes from fear. I mean,
Yeah.
whoever said that you will succeed overnight, is there a definition? I can bet you that when we would dive deep into all these success stories that we see around the internet, that these guys failed 20 times before, and that we are not hearing 99.9% of all these guys that try the same thing and actually tremendously fail. Only these 99.9% gave up.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, you never give up.
Yeah. It's the iceberg metaphor, right? You see just the top, the people that reach the top, and all of them that are under the water that you don't see, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And I think you can. Sorry for interrupting you, but I think
No,
that
go ahead.
you can use the metaphor of a kid. Have you seen the kid that was crawling and stood up his legs, fell, and said, "Ah, I'm not gonna do this. This is too hard.
Yeah.
I give up."
Yeah. Yeah. You
No,
don't
it
see
stood
that.
up, it fell. It stood up, it fell. And at a certain point, yeah, they still were walking but hitting against things, and that hurted them. So they trained their algorithm not to do so.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's the same thing with anything you do in life. You do not give up. You just keep doing what you truly believe in, and this is coming back to the earlier discussion. So actually, has to come from here. If you're using
Mm.
logic, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, what I wanted to talk about, because when you're on your journey, when you want to do all kinds of things, this is kind of the next subject I want to get in. So, what are some of the biggest obstacles for people to reach their kind of true potential? What do you kind of see? I can give my opinion afterwards, but let's have your opinion on that one first.
I would say perception. I would say
Mm.
the external factors, they're too much tied to the things that they have to do to oblige anybody else's wishes except their own, right?
Yeah.
So you see these examples where I just had someone on a podcast that said, "Hey, I had a well-paid job. I'm a mom of two children. I had everything in line, but something was missing. There was something in me that actually pushed me to do something else." And when she wanted to do that, of course, everybody will say you will fail, because there is one interesting thing. If you listen too much to people that are saying that you will fail, you know why? Because if you're going to do that, they see where they failed to realize their dream. So you are remembering them on the dream that they let go, and
Mm.
that hurts them from inside. So they're not willing for you to succeed, because it
Mm.
will remember them even more if they're closer to you. So I think putting too much focus on external factors, conditioned materialism from the society, and the most important one, the bias that is included in everybody's thoughts. So taking for granted what people think. You shouldn't care what people think. Who cares?
Mm.
You
Yeah,
should
that's
care
that.
about what you think. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's hard. It's hard. It's hard for people to let that go because we're social animals. In the, I mean, it is like that, right? A lot of people will judge you. A lot of people will say that what you're thinking about is not attainable. Or, I mean, I've heard it a lot where a lot of people were saying like, okay, you didn't do a university degree or you didn't do anything. How are you going to reach this that you are saying that you want to reach right now? And I'm like, I'll just do it because and that's where a lot of people fail, is that they don't even start, right? They're like, they see this mountain and they're like, oh man, let's leave that for another time, right? Let's push that a little bit back.
But
Go ahead.
did you hear yourself? You just
Yeah.
said you do not have a university degree. So the key
Mm.
to success is having a university degree.
In most
A
in
key
other people's minds, I mean, for me it's not, but in other people's minds that is, right? A lot of people will say that, where
conditioning.
I'm, yeah, where I'm like, I don't care what you did, right? I don't care if you have a university degree. I will look at, okay, what are your qualities? Do those qualities fit in, for example, if you have a team or something, do they fit in my team that I want to have? And that's where I'll base it off. I don't base it off, I've seen people with a lot of degrees that know a lot less than I know, right? So that's the kind of thing, right? You compare it. You're just looking at like, okay, what's actually what you want to have? What's the kind of person you want to have? What's the kind of team member you want to have within your team? And you base it off. I base it off that. I don't base it off university. I don't care. I don't care
Yeah,
if
but
someone has.
if you're conditioned by the whole society to believe this, at a certain
Yeah, it's hard.
point you'll
Yeah.
be brainwashed, because people, you said, people are social animals. You're totally right, but you also have to figure out what kind of influence you're having from your family, from your close relationships, for people you call friends, and actually decide if they're beneficial for your personal growth,
Mm.
right? um, so again, doing something that you really like does not have to bring big monetary value to you. But
No,
if
no,
you're
no.
content with that and you're really happy with that, that's okay. That is
Mm.
actually reaching your, if you like to carve wood and sell figurines on the market, and you really are passionate about that, people will see that,
Yeah, yeah, for
because
sure.
you
Yeah,
believe in something that is your core product, something that you did. If you're
yeah,
great at baking potatoes, then you bake potatoes the best way you can, and you pour your soul into it. And it doesn't matter that you're not driving, I don't know what the favorite car is at this moment, but you know, you should not define materialistic success of society to your successes. And then coming to
yeah.
this biggest obstacle, external factors and people opinions, caring about
Yeah.
anybody else thinks.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you should let that go as fast as you can, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
and
that's not gonna help you. I mean, it does help if it's in a constructive criticism way, right? If someone giving you feedback or something like that, that does help. But we'll get to that in a second for the
yeah,
other subject. But that those are the things that do help, right?
yeah, and to add to that, you have to accept the fact that for the starters is going to be a very lonely existence, and you have to be okay with that,
Mm,
because at a certain point you will start attracting people that are like-minded. So you first have to bite to that sour apple of life, when you remove all these people that are costing you energy, and you replace them with people that give you energy, enthusiasm
yeah.
and passion and love and all these kinds of things.
Yeah, and that comes with the years. I mean, that's not something you. I mean, when I started out like 10 or 12 years ago, I didn't have anyone that's going to say like, this is what you need to do on your journey, or this is where you need to go. I just kind of learned from switching between companies, seeing like, for example, managers how they or leaders, how they are reacting to particular situations, and like learning, okay, this is what I do want to do as a leader, and this is what I don't want to do as a leader, and learning that way, right? But not a lot of people have those kind of role models with where they kind of mirror them to, right?
I agree with you, but then we forgot that the biggest power for us is power of ask. If you do not
Mm,
have a mentor, see
absolutely.
who you would like to have as a mentor. And maybe they're crowded, they don't have time, but you can ask them, hey, maybe you could suggest somebody close to you that can help me because I have this passion and I really want to explore it, etc. So I have not seen any person in life or met any person in life who I honestly ask for help and they say, no, I'm not going to help you. And
Mm.
I'm,
Yeah,
and am I
me
asking
neither.
them? I'm asking them the most precious thing that they can give me, their time and their knowledge. And most said, yeah, let's do it. Do you have a goal?
Yeah.
What is your plan? How do you want, etc., etc.
Yeah, you do need to be concise though, because especially if you're asking these kind of people, right? You can't be like, okay, what's the secret to success? That's not gonna work. You
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
come with
yeah.
something, a concrete example, right?
You have to know which challenges you're facing and then fit the mentor that can help you grow and overcome these challenges.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are a few of the biggest obstacles. Let's talk about two things that you are. One of them you already mentioned, and that's perception, but also consistency. I do want to talk a little bit about this. So, when you're setting these kind of, you're setting the kind of true potential for yourself that you want to be, the person you want to be, the job you want to do. Of course, perception is pretty big in that respect. I think it's one of the biggest ones, but also consistency. So what do you feel like consistency brings to the table when someone is, for example, consistent in their actions?
I think that everything that is done routinely and every day, so choosing one thing that you want to improve and improving that every day, every day, every day, it can take 10 years, but eventually it will benefit you as a person. So in everything you do, you have to be consistent. Maybe I mentioned this earlier, but if you first you have to conclude that you want to do something, right? I want to do
Hmm.
something that has impact on me as a person. I want to gain more knowledge. I want to become an expert. I want to lose weight, whatever. And then, no matter hail or snow, you do that every day consistently, and you do that for 6 months and come back and say you don't have results. I'll bet my life on it you will have results. In
Yeah.
everything that you do consistently, it is behavior. I mean, the behavior of people is constantly fluctuating because of the mood swings. I don't have any
Mm.
masks. I told you at the beginning of this show. I'm always the same. I'm always the same and always in touch with my emotions and how I look towards the world. And I'm always trying to understand somebody else's perception. Because if
Mm.
I'm blocked to understand your perception, I'll be stupid because I will not get the ability to look the world through your eyes. And maybe I will figure something new out. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the thing. And coming back to the consistency, see, if you do every day a bit or a chunk, and you grow, you'll see you will grow. You'll grow in knowledge. You'll grow in fitness. You'll get your body into the shape. You'll get more followers if that is you're all about. You'll get the stage. You Everything that you do consistently will have results. And the funny thing about consistency, and again, a perception, we perceive that success can be achieved overnight. And that is
It
not
doesn't work
true.
that way.
Yeah. So you maybe need to do it for a year, for 3 years, for 10 years. And after 10 years, you get 1 year that somehow miraculously everything falls in place. That's not true. There are no miracles. That's your hard work, consistent work paying off after 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
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 that's
that is
what.
also,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, 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 no.
Yeah, I mean that's what you meant also, and that's something that I've mentioned myself numerous times as well in maybe podcasts that I did, but also I think that it comes back in some of your podcasts as well. Is we started these podcasts, yours and mine. We started that without any kind of money in mind or whatever. We just did it for. From my perspective, it was more for like knowledge sharing, but also building my own network, learning to know a lot of new people that I didn't know before. But also, when I started it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this podcast. But what's the number one thing that a lot of people are saying when you say like, I want to build my podcast? The number one thing or the number one tip that I've seen is like be consistent. Be consistent with your uploads. Upload at the same time every time, and just keep growing that way, right? So I was like, set myself a grueling kind of pace of doing it every week. Of every week on Tuesday there's a podcast, and that's it. And I'm not deviating from that. I have to be honest. We're all people here. I have deviated from time to time, but it shows because in about 2 years, I've recorded 85 podcasts. So that's something that's I didn't think I would do that. I was Before I started, I was
Yep.
just like, I'm gonna do a few and that's it. That's the thing.
Yep. But you just started, so that is also one of the things that people think that they really need a plan. So I can give you ones. You inspired me when I was on your podcast. I don't know which series what was that, and I was
It
like,
was
okay, I need.
in the beginning somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So, but I have to think of a faster way than traveling to Capella and the ISIL to go like a mini holiday to go for a podcast. And
Yeah.
I figured out the concept and I just started. I didn't have an end goal in mind. I was just, can I do this? I Googled it. What is needed? I just asked Google questions. What is needed for a great podcast? And you get like a list. This. Oh, here are
Yeah.
examples of
Yeah.
great podcasts, and so on and so on. So if you want to do something, you have to perceive what you want to do and then be consistent in it and don't have the end goal. Be in love with the process, because if you're just looking for the end goal, you will give up uh, just because you assume that after 10 podcasts you will have millions of followers here, right?
That's not gonna happen. No, and the thing is, I have to be honest. I've in those last 2 years, I've had a few moments where I was like, why am I doing this? Right? Why am I doing this? I should just give up, or let's just stop the podcast and that's it. Sometimes I've said like, okay, if I reach 100, I'll stop. But it could also well be that when I reach 100, I'm like, oh well, let's do the next 100, right? It doesn't have a real end goal, but on the other hand, it's something that I get energy from. I get energy from talking to
You're
people like you,
passionate
but
about it.
also, yeah,
You're
you're doing
passionate
it.
about it.
You're doing it unconditionally in that sense. So I do want to talk a little bit about setting goals, because setting goals and kind of getting to that, I think, is a real important thing. Because if you do not set goals, if you don't say, okay, I want to reach, I don't know, I want to be this particular function within a company or whatever. I feel like it's kind of, you need to have an end goal, in my opinion. You don't need to say, okay, I need to reach that within a year, because maybe that's not feasible, right? But how do you approach that? So when you set out to do something, how do you kind of set these goals? Do you set goals, and how do you approach that?
I do set goals. They're never poured in concrete. So
Hmm.
they're fluctuating because maybe by the time that so it's never a straight path, right? It always goes, it's not a straight line. It has a lot of obstacles. So I have a 1 year goal, a 3 year goal, and 10 year goal on different levels. So both spiritually, physically, mentally, and professionally. So personally in whole and professionally in whole. So how am I going? So I have these goals, and then I set out how am I going to achieve it? What do I need on knowledge, on people, on experience, on all these kinds of things to achieve those goals? And they always change. They're varying because along the paths that you're following, So I'll give you a good example. The AI company that I was starting for the management consultancy, I just wanted to start up an AI company. I did not have an end goal in mind. At that point, big data was a trending topic. So 2014, 15 was booming big data. I have an engineering background. I know everything about data, but I do not have a PhD in computer science or data science or for whatever. But I just stick to it and presented, wrote about it, offered it to the customers. Of course, I had people that really knew a lot about data science, and they fed me. So I was asking questions, asking, and listening. Um, and every show that I got invited for, I just went. There were no obligations, requirements, payment, nothing. At a certain point, after 3 years, I started receiving emails. Can you come and speak about AI and what does it cost? While when I started, it was just, would you come to speak? Yes, I will come to speak. But
Yeah.
I didn't have an end goal. I want to speak for money. It just happened. So people started valuing what they were listening to and the
Yeah.
message that I was bringing out. It was not an end goal. My end goal was establishing a company and running business, etc. And I did a side, but also did not forget about my passion. And my passion was to, emphasize and be with people, etc. And I just found a way to do so
Mm.
through a certain topic. So
Yeah.
it was not a definite goal, but I got there anyhow. So what I want to
Yeah.
say, do not put a goal in and never move from it like you are holding down like a drawing man to a stick. Uh,
Mm.
you have to be able to iterate, because the most important thing is also being able to say this has been enough. You look at it from different perspectives. You look at from the perspective, am I doing the right thing? And you do not give up. You reiterate and you continue.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is when you set a goal. If you set a goal and you along the way will change, you will change as a person, right? There are things that are going to change within yourself. Where, as you said, you became a public speaker from that instead of maybe building the company that you wanted, but you also saw that that's something that you like to do. That's something that you get a passion from, and where your heart lies. And that's something that a lot of people, that's kind of a byproduct, right? It's a byproduct of setting
Yes.
a goal and then seeing like, okay, this is actually something that I like to do. It's not maybe what I set out to do, but this is my calling. This is my thing that I want to do. So that's something that people forget. Like, setting goals, it doesn't really mean that you always need to hit them, but you will also see that there are things that are coming along your path where you're like, oh, I need to maybe change this goal a little bit and say like, okay, I want to do this more. One goal for myself that I've set for this year, for example, I made it really smart. I was like, I want to do a webinar every month, or at least some kind of a live stream or whatever. That's a really in my opinion, it's a really easy goal to reach. It's pretty easy, right? You just need to have a subject. You need to have someone, maybe like yourself, that is willing to talk about these kind of topics. But it is that's where the consistency also comes in again, right? Where you set that goal, say every month I'm going to do this, and that will build something, right? It has to. There's no, you're going to the market and then stuff like that, right?
You will get inspired. You will talk with a lot of people. And if you're open minded, you will get new ideas, which these ideas that you can put into practice. And maybe along the way, you'll find out that you're actually on the wrong path and that you should just deviate a bit and set a new set of goals that you want to realize. And
Yeah.
these all things are, you're juggling with multiple factors. You're juggling with your definition of success, definition of what you as a person find very valuable, setting the goals, and working towards them, and understanding the fact that nothing is going to happen overnight. You do not go to gym for 2 days and go stand in front of a mirror and say, hey, why don't I
That's
see
not
any
gonna work.
progress? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. It's kind of logical, right? And I think that goes for everything in life. You cannot do something for 2 days or 3 days and expect tremendous result. I don't think even that
Mm.
you can do if you do it for 3 months, you will see some results. If you do it for 6 months, definitely you're going to see it. And if you keep consistently doing it, you will reach them, and maybe reach some other goals that you never intended to reach.
Yeah. So do you, when you are setting these kind of goals for yourself, I write them down, for example. I write them down and say like, okay, I want to do this month, maybe this year, or maybe on a quarter. How do you do that?
I have a mood board,
Hmm.
like an A3 paper. I write on it. I draw on it. I have vivid visions. So everything that I'm talking about, I see it in my head.
You can see it.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I truly believe. So if I envision it, I really want to do it. And then oftenly I get these kind of deja vu's, right? When I achieve something that this kind of seems familiar to me, and that
Mm.
comes from actually something that I really desired to do, or to make happen, or to achieve, and or be. So I wanted to be on stage on a conference that had 500 to 1,000 people, and at a certain point you're there, and all these people are listening to you, and you have that moment of epiphany. It seems like something that I already did, but it's these vivid visions in my head, something that I put on paper, and I just go through them, and
Yeah.
I do them. I line them up. Sometimes they're too much, like zillion goals, and I just start scratching, right? Because you're not. If you do everything at once,
You're not gonna get it.
yeah, you're gonna get killed in a process. So I try to dissect them, and actually, so 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year plan is dissected in everything is following each other. So my grand goal is at the 10th year, and baby steps are in the first year.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something that I think a lot of people can just pick up and do themselves. Is like, okay, set yourself like the thing that you want to do, and kind of stick to it, right? Have that always somewhere where you can see it. Like, have these kind of
In front of
goals
yours.
just in front of your eyes, because if you let them go, if you put them in some kind of file cabinet, you're not going to do them. So those are kind of the things that I think are important, and for people to just pick up and do, right? So one other thing that we just wanted to touch about, you already mentioned it, but let's get into it a little bit, and that's kind of building a community of trusted advisors. So having people around you that can advise you. So how have you done that? So how have you kind of picked the people that you wanted around yourself for advisors?
Um, it was a learning curve. I didn't understand that firstly, that we all need somebody that supports us, and when we do not believe in ourselves at the moment of youth, where you're kind of cocky and arrogant, that you really need somebody that believes in you and sees a diamond in the rough, and that actually says you just need some polishing, and guides you through that. And I would say it started. Before when I was 15, 16. A father of he passed away sadly at a very young age, but father of a very good friend of mine. Um, he was always he was working at one of the bigger IT companies. He was always assembling computers, installing all these kinds of things. And he saw my passion for that, because I was always around electronics and anything like that. So he started teaching me, because he saw enthusiasm in me, and he started coaching me on, you can do this and do this, and these are the good educations that you can follow if you can. And uh, I wasn't now I'm aware, but back then I wasn't aware that he was guiding me into the right path for me. And then when I started working for the management consultancy, I had a great manager that he taught me really a lot. And I would say through all my life, I had these kinds of person that sat down, took their time and really helped me from love and passion perspective, because for them, they want to succeed. And then after that, brother-in-law, a very close relation of mine that is still mentoring me. I have another guy in Germany that is mentoring me. So I'm, I taught myself to have these people around me that actually are willing, as I said at the beginning, to share their time and knowledge to improve me, because it's acknowledging that you need some improvement, and that somebody is giving up time to improve you. And that is very important. I believe there is a saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So I'd rather be surrounded with these trusted advisors that know everything about me, and I hope they also can learn something from me, but that's not my aspect, or they gain anything from stuffing me up.
Yeah.
So then have then have 100 friends, quote unquote, that invite me to go drink every night in a bar and stay up until 5 a.m. Wasting my time on things that really are not adding value to my personal or professional life.
Yeah, and what I've noticed for myself, from my perspective, when you, I never really searched for someone as an advisor. It's not like I did kind of seek out to have someone as an advisor, but you kind of subconsciously do it, right? You subconsciously see, as you said, that someone maybe has an interest in you, or will even speak that out. Will even speak out and say like, okay, I see that you have a lot of potential, but these are some of the things that you still need to brush up to get further, right? And those are kind of the people you want to have around you, and that can say that to you like in a meaningful, honest way, instead of saying like you did it horribly wrong. They will probably say like, okay, you're getting there, but you need to improve on this and this and this. And those are kind of the people that you want to have around you, I think, where they can say that and you can not be offended by it, because it's basically their opinion, and they do that because they want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail in what you're doing. So that's something that I've noticed as an advisor.
Yeah, it's and the most important one is paying it forward. So
Mm.
I
Yeah,
believe you're doing
absolutely.
that. I'm doing that as well. If people are ready to transfer knowledge to us, that means that we have an obligation to do the same. Um,
Yeah.
and again, another saying that was like, watch out who you call friends. I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Mm.
I think it's very valuable to see where the intersection is, where people can help you, are willing to help you,
Yeah.
and confronting you argumentally, not like, you can criticize about anything in life, um, but actually giving you feedback why, how, and what the result shall be. I think
Yeah.
these are valuable lessons. And if somebody is prepared to share that with you, I think that you should be appreciative beyond any kind of gratitude
Absolutely.
that you can imagine.
Absolutely. And and I think that a lot of we help a lot of people. Both of us help a lot of people, even without anyone acknowledging it or whatever. We don't need that, right? I mean, it's not needed. You're just helping
You
someone
don't,
in that case.
where in this game, you're not fin for it yourself.
Yeah.
It's how you call that? I cannot come up with an English word for it, but it's freelingly. There is no, the biggest gratitude you can get for that is see somebody
Unconditionally.
else succeed.
Yeah.
Unconditional, giving your time, giving your advice, and seeing somebody succeed is the best thing and if you are aware that somewhere on the background you helped, you don't need acknowledgement. It's
No, no,
so beautiful to
absolutely not.
see.
No, and
Uh,
one thing that I've noticed from becoming a mentor myself is that I kind of realized myself that that's something that I've missed in the last 10
of
years.
course.
That's something that you kind of reflect on yourself as well, and that's why especially if you're a little bit further in your career, I would suggest to anyone to do, because you will learn a lot from just doing that, instead of you just giving your advice to someone, right?
I do disagree here with you. I don't think that you have to be further in your career. I think if you're a student,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
studying, or you just started in any, I mean, there is
Yeah,
no
you're right.
condition for, there is no condition of, you can be 50 and have a mentor. You can be
Yeah,
in your
you're
pension
right.
and have a mentor. You're
That's what
never too
they
young or
do.
too old.
Yeah, that's what we do, or at least what the foundation does as well with the students that we were
Yes.
mentoring or are mentoring. They are helping like the next generation of students, like
Yes.
the ones that are in the primary school or in the middle school or whatever, right? So yeah, you're right. You actually don't need to be in further down your career. You can actually do that on almost every level that you're operating on at that time.
You
Uh,
just have to be
but
open for someone else's advice to help you do more, achieve more, be more, and actually get in touch with yourself. Just hold down the mirror for you. That's so
yeah.
important.
Yeah, and I think that kind of knowing that you need an advisor and actually saying that, actually admitting that to yourself, like I don't know everything, I'm not going to learn everything without someone's help. That's also one thing that I feel like a lot of people need to know is they need to look at themselves like really critically, like okay, if I want to do this, am I going to achieve it myself and try to do that the painful way, or am I gonna ask someone that's maybe already in that position for help and just some advice on what where to get started, right?
We didn't touch this, but actually, uncertainty or ego is
Mm-hmm.
something that actually is stopping a lot of people to ask for help. They're ashamed because, oh my God, if somebody knew that I did not know this. Well, you can't
Yeah.
possibly know everything. I believe there is even a research that we only know 2% of the thing that we think we know 100% of. So 2%. That's really, really low. So it's again ending up with quotes. Figure out what you don't know and surround yourself with people that do know.
Yeah, exactly. So that brings us kind of to the final remarks because I think there are some valuable lessons here for people to learn. We've talked about all these kind of things, like the biggest obstacles, seeing like perception from other people. We've talked about like the consistency that you need to get to your particular goals, and also setting them. How do you do that? We've mentioned that, and also getting people to help you, right? Getting people that can help you along your journey. So what are some of the things that you would like to kind of close this Twitter live session with? What are some of the things that you would like to give back to the people, or at least mention again?
What I said. Forget about anybody else's opinion. They can have it. It's their perception. It's not reality. Anything that is impossible for them is not impossible for you. So everything is possible if you have the consistency, willpower, resilience, and believe, truly believe that you can do what you are set out to do. Plan it, put it on paper, and jot it down. If your trajectory changes, put it down, and remind yourself that you're doing this. Do not expect results overnight. Expect results from 1 year to 10 years. Depends on how consistent and how much working hours you're spending on your passion or your goal. Find yourself a good mentor, find yourself more mentors, reach out, ask people for help, share your ideas, share your opinions, trial and error, fail, and you will hurt your head, but that's not drama. I think the worst fear you should have is fear of unlived life and your dreams coming to your funeral.
Yeah.
I would end up with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's nothing worse than feeling like you didn't get everything out of it that you wanted, right? Not getting the things that you aspired to be or aspired to do or whatever, right? And that's what we try to do in this kind of live session. So what I would like to end off with is for the people, you can follow us on Twitter. I know Amir tweets a lot about these kind of things. I do as well. When I do have some interesting opinions on particular topics. So follow us there. I think we'll probably end up putting this on YouTube as well. This is going on Twitter, but you will be able to watch this one more time later on. Amir, thanks a lot for your time. I think it was a great session.
Likewise, brother. It was awesome
Yeah.
talking to you again. And Godspeed, I would say. Continue doing what you're doing. And until next time.
Thanks. Until
And,
next time.
thank you. Thank you again for inviting me for kicking off this. So
Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
precious the-
I'm gonna keep this up because this is pretty cool too. This is a little bit different than the podcast that I do and the podcast that you do, but it's cool. It's about the other topics than just technology or companies or whatever, right? But it's a mix of both. So we'll keep this up. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.